So to be told that, I think it kind of just, I was like, oh yeah, I'm not in the right place. And people will look at that like, kitu kidogo, that small thing is what made. No, not really. That was just something that made me realize I should stop trying. What's the right way to say this? If you find yourself trying too hard to fit into a space, it's simply because you're not a good fit. Baby, I know it's getting late, and you don't want no way, but I won't waste your time. Hey guys, welcome back. To those who are new here, welcome to my flawsome world. So my name is Stacey Nduta, and on this channel we discuss matters growth and lifestyle. So this video, today I'm looking like someone's let's not even get into that. Yeah, this video required me to summon my inner auntie. You guys, when they tell you you'll be in denial as you get older, they don't tell you how much in denial you'll be. Like, it is serious. But today's video is not about denial. Today's video is all about something that I feel like is a bit of a buzzword right now, but I'll call it an awakening of sorts. I'll be just explaining my own and not necessarily trying to impose any not philosophical ideas. I'll simply be saying how I realized what I realized and I tried to navigate better, and also share a few tips that may help you figure out that bit when it happens to you. So the reality is sometimes you can be stuck and sometimes you can just be plain stubborn. How do you realize this? So before you even go to realization, there's something called the thinking. I won't really call it okay, I'll give this thing my own terminologies, because that way, you don't have to start saying, oh, this sounds like no. Sometimes I look at those yeah. So we shall call stage one thinking, or the thinking. Yeah. The thinking is basically what happens. You suddenly feel that you are all over the place. Somehow, the things that you used to have a handle of, you no longer have a handle of. You keep disappointing yourself and those people around you. You find yourself in a space where it's almost unfamiliar, so to speak. Maybe you've been living in the same area and everything, but you somehow feel like you are having some sort of out of body experience. This is not, so to speak, that you are possessed. For the African parents watching this, okay, just chill. Let me explain. It just means that you are somehow dissociated from your reality. For those people who've played RPG role-playing games, it's the same dystopia where you feel like someone else is controlling. Someone else has the controls on you and is deciding what you should do next. Should you pick this up? Should you do that? You're somehow on autopilot. I think that's actually the best way to explain this. And when you're disengaged now in the thinking, what happens is that you somehow feel that the autopilot is not doing what you want. I don't know if that makes sense. For example, you start doing things out of routine, but part of you is somehow irritated that you're choosing to do those specific activities or whatever. You start feeling contempt for that situation that you're in. You're just like, I don't want to do this. And this goes back to the video I did for last week. You just find it up here, where you realize that you're spending your backpacks the wrong way. Definition will be this here. So what then happens is that the thinking is somehow a subconscious, people call it self-sabotage, but really it's you trying to save yourself, because self-sabotage is somehow uh, misunderstood. People think that we commit self-sabotage maybe by procrastinating at I'll do it later, and then at the end you start rushing to finish it towards that deadline that you had set. But really, self-sabotage is self-preservation in its own form, whereby I feel like I'm using a lot of things in here, but let me just explain. Your ego is trying to preserve itself by maintaining those routines, and this is even proven scientifically, where your brain, in terms of forming new habits, is very resistant. For those people who remember physics, or if you did physics or basic knowledge about electricity, it will always try to find the shortest route with the least resistance. So your neurons, which are in your brain, are trying to find the shortest route with the least resistance. Creating new habits, that's a high level of resistance. So that's what happens in the thinking, where you recognize those patterns or those habits that you formed, and you're somehow yourself, wewe kibinafsi, you're trying to and disengage from those routines that you feel no longer align with your own values. So subconsciously you're doing it, but you're not even aware of it. You're calling it self-sabotage, but really what you're doing is that your conscious has recognized that you need to let this go. You need to let this relationship go. You need to let this job go. You need to let where you're living go, because either it's affecting you, it's not causing you to grow anymore, or it's removing all the growth that you had in the first place. Removing what? But yeah, that's the basic concept of the thinking. My personal experience is my thinking has happened severally. That's the funny thing about these stages. Think to recall any time that you've probably gone through depression or a depressive situation. Maybe it's the loss of a loved one, something like that. You go through different stages, but this is something common where you do feel that autopilot mode, but you also don't want it, and things are not going according to plan, or rather what you had planned. Everything is just not working out for you completely, and that's where the realization now comes in. Now this stage is very, very it can be triggered in so many ways, but the most common, I honestly think, is when you're doing something and you suddenly realize that you are not as passionate. I think I can use that word. Not as passionate as you were when you first did it. And this is something that creatives go through, and it's so tragic, especially if your art has been something that has either been feeding you, whether it's like you get paid for it, or it's something that you really, 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 really love. The rails and rails are just all over the place. But yeah, it's something that can really break you if you actually come to the realization that, oh my god, something is not right, something is amiss, something is, that aloofness you feel somehow becomes bigger and bigger. It becomes some sort of entity, or you just see it. You literally see it. And then the realization is something that is something, or rather it's a chapter that's very, very important, because if you don't move across this stage where you actually recognize the fact that either you've been living in a pattern, or you're unhappy because of your own choices and the life that you built. I know that's a really harsh truth, but just hear me out. That stage is that important. Once you realize it and you're like, okay, wow, this needs to change. Okay, you can't just say this needs to change and then continue living the same way every day and then hope that you'll feel better the next day. It doesn't work. And I think that's why many people actually, change their environment and everything. But it's not even about your environment. It's about you. It is about you. So once you move from the realization stage where you're able to call yourself out either on the habits or the patterns or the environment that you placed yourself in or let yourself be in, and that's a really tough one to hear because people will be like, oh, it's me, I am the victim, it is them who hurt me, I was faithful. Well, girl, you didn't respect yourself enough to live in the first place. So yeah, there's that. And when I first told myself that, I was like, because trust me, I've had so many thinkings. Let me just name a few for those who don't know me. I think my biggest think or depressive episode was probably when oh my god, am I really exposing myself? Okay, let's start with the lighter one. 2010, when I lost my aunt and then I lost my uncle in like 2 months. I think it was it shook me. It shook my family. It shook everything I believed in because we had prayed so hard that she goes through. And it wasn't even something, it was an elective surgery. It was something that she had decided to do to get rid of the situation. And then she doesn't come back from that. It just it did. I remember in school I was in high school. I know someone would be like, but you hadn't seen life. Haujaona maisha, same thing. But whatever stage you are in life, and if you're watching this, you don't have to have kids and a husband or a wife or a mortgage or a demanding job or each life, each situation, they all have their own set of problems, their own set of mentalities, their own set of mindsets, and whatever you're going through is valid. Let me just say that because I don't know if anyone has ever told you that, but it is valid. But for you to let yourself be controlled by those emotions that you feel from that situation, that's where you realize that's exactly what I mean by the realization stage. When you wake up from that and you're like, oh wow, I'm actually in the driver's seat of this vehicle. I'm not supposed to just be reacting to everything in life, oh my god, I can't believe she did this to me. How dare you talk to me like who are you fighting, girl? Just stop. This life, it's not about fighting people around you. It's choosing. Think about it like I should do a short clip of my mint and then I'll show you. So my mint, when I got it died. Okay, and then after that it blossomed. Like right now, if you look at it, you wouldn't think it's the same plant. It's the same way. Like you see, I don't know how nature understands that. Nature understands that this place is barren. I will not grow here. Okay, that's why they disperse their seeds in a certain way, or they either have us or animals eat and dispose this plant somewhere else or whatever. And even water bodies understand that. They're like, oh okay, we are going. This looks like a better path than this. They're intelligent, but for some reason, humans, we will suffer. We will suffer and know that we are suffering, but stay in that suffering. And there's such a beautiful short story that I once heard of about how a dog had like a nail through its foot. And instead of it removing so that it can start healing from it, it was just there waiting. And I feel like that's how, before realization, that's where we are at. We are like, oh my god, this has happened to me. Oh my god, how could it happen to me? Oh my god, I don't feel the same anymore. We wallow in that hole. And I was having this conversation with someone, and yeah, we wallow. We become our suffering. But really, the suffering is just happening. It hasn't changed your state. It hasn't changed who you are. It hasn't changed your gifts. It hasn't changed your values. It is just an external thing that has happened that is meant to shape you. And I feel like I'm preaching, but yo. So once you've crossed over the realization stage, you move into something known as the shift. I said I'll come up with my own terminologies. If you find them somewhere else, great minds think alike. Who am I? Anyway, the shift. So the shift is when you start intentionally now doing things. It's not about planning anymore. Think of it like, you know, when you're planning, when you want to go on vacation, you're like, oh my god, I just want to go to vacation. Yeah. Oh my god, it's been so long since I've been to the beach. But the day you actually pick up your device that you use to research, you pick up the phone and call whoever you need to book with, and then you go. You have done what you were agonizing over. And it's the same thing with life. It's so weird. You can plan. You can, trust me. Planning. Oh, planning is my sweet spot. I have a black book that has to-do lists since like 2018. Okay, I love it. I love it so much. But then the execution bit is just like, did I really think one person would do all this in a day? And I don't know who would relate to that, but that's exactly what it feels like. So yeah, once you go in past the realization, you go into your shift stage. That's when you're actively trying to do, like, you're no longer looking at things from a victim's perspective. You're looking at it from, oh wow, this happened, okay, let me find out a solution for that, but let me also mitigate this in the future. Let me make sure this doesn't happen again. And if it does happen, I have like some sort of system or structure to be able to deal with it. And that's basically my spiritual journey so far. That's how I can summarize it. So in terms of realization, this one is funny, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to share this out loud, but my realization moment was last year. I was explaining a point in a meeting, and my boss told me, stop thinking out of the box. Like, what? That I am built to think out of the box. Like, that is all I ever do. Literally, this is the box and I'm here. That has always been how I function. I don't know, I've tried clicks and everything, but it's not that fun as much as it looks fun to do. And yes, I have my own group of friends, but it's not a clique behavior. Sometimes I'll meet with this one, I'll stay months before I meet with this other one. But we talk, catch up, how are you doing? How are you handling life? So to be told that, I think it kind of just, I was like, oh yeah, I'm not in the right place. And people will look at that like, kidogo, that small thing is what made. No, not really. That was just something that made me realize I should stop trying. What's the right way to say this? If you find yourself trying too hard to fit into a space, it's simply because you're not a good fit. It's just that simple. It's not about you or the space being wrong. No. both of you are right. It's just you're not right for each other. I don't know if that makes sense. So yeah, that was my realization or aha moment. And then for my shift, honestly, it has been tough because this shift started a while back. In terms of shift, there are like three different phases. You start with your outward appearance. You know, I changed my hair, I cut my hair, I've done so many things to my hair. There's a time my acne had, or rather, what do you mean there's a time? You people have been with me since then. It's just the other day. It's just the other day. So basically, also my acne really made me shuku myself. Shuku is basically just not feel very confident, really affected my self-esteem, and that whole thing transformed how I view myself once I got over the fact that I'm not my hair or my skin, and the fact that I could talk and still project myself, not project myself, but just be myself. Be myself. The acne or the state of my hair does not take away from who I am. And those are the two shifts that happened. So there's outward appearance, what I mentioned. Then there's ego. So ego for me was the acne bit, because I'd really taken pride in being pretty, And for that to be taken away from me, it put me in some situations. I really it's a story for another day. And now when the ego was stripped, the next one is your abilities, or rather just the things that you rely on. And that was stripped from me. And I think it made me realize that yes, these are just bits and pieces that make me who I am, but they're not necessarily me. I don't know if you guys got that, because that one, hey, even I got some chills. But yeah, it's when you realize that you're not your body, you're not your mind, you're not, and I really wish I could do more spiritual content, but I'll just let me know if I should do more spiritual content. And because I don't want this video to be more, just too lengthy, I think I'll end it here. And what I can say is that if you recognize that you're on that journey, imagine you're not alone. You are not alone. Like, something that really gives me, or really gets me excited, is the fact that I know that even in those moments I feel alone, I'm not. There's always a presence. It's, God is everywhere. And it took me walking away from Christianity, so to speak, to realize that God. Because as much as we want to say, oh, the universe gives, or the what, we need to recognize that indeed there is an entity that provides for you, that just makes these small things in life so blissful. Oh my God. Like, once you cross the shift and you start actually actively taking care of yourself and your decisions and who you put in your space and your energy and what you eat, okay, you will notice. You will get excited about watching the sunrise or set. I have pets, I watch them play, and I'm in awe. Like, I'm just like, wow, these creatures live in this house. And they're so beautiful. And I've taken care of them for 3 years. And, watching my mint plant grow has just taught me patience, because, that thing, we're complaining about Baridi in Kanairo, but hey, mint rust. Those 2 black spots that pop up on mint when it's cold. I was not happy. it died, like it completely died. I even had to cut off some stems just to try and revive it. And it came back to me, and I'm happy. And cooking is such a beautiful process. You know, these two small things just make you realize that having the chance to experience this life, don't take it for granted at all. Not even one bit. Yes, yes, something is not going your way, but is it because you're so fixated on it going your way that you can't see something else playing out in another way that could also be useful to your genuine plans? And yeah, that's the shift. That is definitely the shift. You will know when you're going through the shift. I can't speak of the other phases of this journey because I'm in the shift. So maybe in later videos I'll be able to speak on this, but it's something I'm so passionate about. And having lived it, it's so beautiful, you guys. Just know. Just know it. Let me just end the video here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe and be blessed. Have a beautiful week. I love you. And yeah, road to 1,000. I'm trying to get to 1,000. Hopefully by the time this video goes up, we're at 500. So yeah, take care, guys.